Loto for Life here, bringing you guys a brand new video, and today, let's continue Pendulum Month. Like 3 months later, Archetype analysis of Magispector. I am so sorry this is so late, but anyway, I digress. This is a deck that I've been wanting to talk about for a very long time. Magispectors are such an intriguing deck. I remember this deck was so hyped and simultaneously so people were so terrified of whenever it was getting ready to come out, and then it did like nothing. It literally did like nothing. It had a little bit of competitive success, both in the TCG and the OCG, but however, it really became more known for being an engine thanks to Bambuku. But for the most part, this deck really never saw like a lot of competitive play, despite how much hype it had. But this deck also hasn't aged well, despite getting more support later on, and also it doesn't help their boss monster still banned. But I digress. Let's talk about it. So what the heck are Magispectors for you, like 5 people who haven't heard? Magispectors are a spellcaster pendulum archetype that comprise of all scale 2 or 5s and have no pendulum effect. Now, because they have no pendulum effect, it also means they do jack squat in the pendulum zone. But, however, to make up for this, while they are monsters, every single Magispector monster, with the exception of their boss monster, in some way, shape, or form, searches. Basically just tutoring out a card, okay? On top of that, every single Magispector cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. Well, your opponent's card effects, at least. This gives them all some hefty annoyance whenever trying to deal with them. Making it so that you can't target or destroy them is obnoxious. And then you throw on top of that their main gimmick. Their spells and traps all are disruptive spells or trap cards, and with the exception of a handful, their best ones require you to tribute a Magispector to do something. Typically destroying a card, banishing a card, negating something, so on and so forth. This deck was not treated very nicely by Master Rule 4's restrictions on the pendulum mechanic. For one thing, being a very back row heavy archetype, they now have to be careful because they're very limited on how much back row they can have. On top of that, though, their spells and traps and their monsters in general, they just haven't aged well to keep up with the times, and the deck has had a hard time seeing any kind of real, rather rogue or competitive success, even beyond whenever it first came out. The only card that most people have ever seen out of this archetype is their boss monster, Kieran, who is currently still banned and probably will forever be banned for very good reasons we will get to later. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and start talking about it. With Magispector Cat YgoAmino, who is a level 3 wind spellcaster of pendulum effect, scale 2, no of pendulum effect, and of course has the standard hexproof for it can't be destroyed by or targeted by your opponent's card effects. And its unique effect is that once per turn during the end phase, whenever it is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Magispector card from your deck to your hand. This is a pretty good card, but it's very, very slow, and it doesn't give you that instant gratification that you need in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays, a card like this being released for any archetype would be considered hot garbage, and YgoAmino is kind of teetering on that, to the point where I'd almost argue it's one of the worst Magispectors. It's really, really sad, too, because this card used to be one of the best. You know, getting a search anything in your archetype, but when your archetype is nothing but searchers, that isn't saying much. The big thing though is that it does trigger no matter what, so even if you like link it off, sync it off, whatever, you should still get the search at the end phase, so there is that. It's just you won't be able to use that card until your next turn, and knowing my luck, you're probably dead by the next turn anyway. So that being said though, there's not really many good other replacements. So I'd recommend playing at least 2, but I play 3 because it's a searcher and there's not many good replacements. This deck is small. Okay, people. Next up, let's talk about Bambuku, probably the best one of the bunch. He's a level 3, 12,900, scale 5. Unique effect is that whenever he is normal or special summoned, you can add a Magispector monster from your deck to your hand once per turn. This card is Stratos for the deck, for at least the monster part. And it can stupidly, for some reason, search itself, just like Stratos, which is kind of funny. But, however, that being said, Bambuku is like the core backbone of the deck. You need to get Bambuku as soon as possible to get to your other dudes, to get to your spells and traps, and it just is really stupid. So, play 3. There has been also some tinkering around with Bambuku to make it so that you can use it as a mini engine in other decks. As I said, this deck has its own archetypal negation trap, which is, of course, a counter trap, so that makes it basically an Infernity Barrier. So there has been some tinkering around with Bambuku and, like, 1 or 2 of the other Magispectors to make a little engine, which you could try if you really are curious about it. Next up, we got Magispector Crow Yada. No, boy. Skill 5, 1,000 attack, 1,500 defense. And its unique effect is that whenever it's no more special summoned, you can add one of your Magispector spell cards from your deck to your hand. This is pretty good all around. Nothing really major though. Funnily enough, he is considered the worst of the spell and trap card searchers because the spells aren't particularly great. Unfortunately, Magispector's spells are just kind of laughably just They aren't bad, but they aren't great, and honestly, their real backbone is in the trap cards. That being said, though, I would still recommend playing 3 in a pure build just because you don't have enough options. But, however, in mixed builds, you can totally get away with 1 or 2 just because he's not particularly great. Moving on, we got Ogama. Not an Ojama, but an Ogama. Magispector Toad Ogama, level 4, 500 attack, 500 defense. When it's normal or spell summon, you can set one Magispector spell or trap card directly from your deck, but it cannot activate this turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. This thing's good. This thing's really good. If you're playing the pure build, definitely play 3. You could get away with 2 in mixed builds, but it's another one where I'd definitely consider playing 3 of, purely because this can search out any of your spells or trap cards, kind of making Yada not really necessary in some situations. The only downside is, of course, if you set your spells, even if you set like one of your normal spells or something, you cannot use it that turn. Now, of course, if you set like a quick play spell or one of the trap cards, it doesn't matter as much because, well, you can't set it anyways. I mean, you can't use it anyways, so it doesn't matter if you can't use it that turn off of his own effect. So this is a really good card all around, and heck, if you don't even want to play Yada, I can totally see why, especially since they have the same skills. Moving on, we got Magispector Fox QB. I feel like I really should have made a UB joke instead of a QBmon, but then again, when I made this, I wasn't into VTubers. God dang it. The dog god would be disappointed. Anyways, QBmon is a skill 2, 0, well, no pendulum effect, of course. Whenever it's normal or spell summon, you can add one Magispector trap card from your deck to your hand. And yeah, that's still once per turn as well. Again, standard par for the course with the Magispectors. This is the best of the bunch. Not only having the best stat line at 1500. This deck is so pitifully weak, it's hilarious. But also being able to search your trap cards, which is the backbone of this archetype. So you kind of really need to get to those trap cards. Typically speaking, you'll want to use Bambuku to get to QB, and then QB to get to your traps, and so on and so forth. And yeah, also, thankfully, thanks to the field spell, this card becomes 1800, so it's not like the worst thing in the world, but like, it really should have been a bit stronger. And then we got the boss. Yeah, that's it for the monsters, I'm not joking. Majespector Unicorn Kirin. He's a level 6. I have issues with that. Skill 2, no pendulum effect. During either player's turn, you can target one pendulum monster in your monster zone, and one monster your opponent controls. Return them to the hands. You can only use this effect of Magispector Unicorn Kirin once per turn. It cannot be targeted or disturbed by your opponent's card effects. This card is stupid. It's just stupid. It's bad in Magispectors, but it's stupid in other archetypes. There's a reason this card's been banned, well, for quite a long while, because, okay, take for instance with like good old Pendulum Magicians. Skoker Bat Joker, normal summon, search, pet set your pendulum skills, summon out Kirin effect, bounce Skoker Bat Joker, bounce your opponent's monster. Okay, and then next turn I get my Skoker Bat to just be able to normal summon and search again. It's stupid. And on top of that, this thing is a hex-proof level 6 that you can just constantly bring back thanks to the pendulum mechanic, and it's just obnoxious. It's one of the hardest to kill boss monsters, and it's one of the most obnoxious ones out there because it just keeps getting rid of stuff. This card was the bane of a lot of people's existence for the longest time, and it's been banned for a long time, and I don't see it ever coming back unless it gets an errata to make it like unique to Magispectors. Like maybe make it so you can target one Magispector other than a Kieran and then one other card or something. I don't know. Or make it so its effect's not a quick effect, but even then it might be annoying. So yeah, but however, whenever it comes to Magispectors, you can play one or two. You do gotta invest more resources to use it in Magispectors. But however, in mixed builds, or heck even in Pendulum decks in general, you play as many as you're allowed to, so yeah. Now then, let's get on with the spells and traps. Magispector Storm, it's a normal spell card. Tribute one wind monster, then target one monster your opponent controls, shuffle it in the deck. I really wish this was a quick effect. This would be so much better if this was a quick spell, but whatever. Just being able to just tribute a dude, spin back a dude, pretty good. Not much else to really say. You play one or two of it. If it was a quick play, I'd say definite 3 of, but as a normal spell, it's not particularly great. Then we got Majespector Cyclone, the quick play spell card. Tribute one wind spellcaster monster, then target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it. As I said, disruption. So yeah, I really wish these two were switched, but I get why, because this sounds way more powerful than this. But yeah, so just general 1-for-1 pop, although you're also technically negging one, because you're tributing a dude and using this card, so card economy. As much as I hate hearing people say that, you do make an active loss on most of these. It is sad. But however, you get to make an active plus on it by pendulum summoning everybody back. Oh wait, you can't because of master roll restrictions unless you have links. And guess what deck does not have links yet? So with this card, you definitely do want to play 1 to 2 of it, depending on if you're playing mixed builds or not. Then we got Majespector Sonics, another quick play spell card. Target one Magispector monster you control until the end of its turn. Until the end of this turn, its attack and defense become double its current attack and defense. Also, any battle damage it inflicts to your opponent is halved. This is probably the worst of the spells, but however, it's a pretty decent one at the same time in that, well, your opponent attacks something, activate this. You don't gotta tribute anything, just double one of your dude's attack power. So hey, now my little QB becomes a 3k beater, and hey, I got a blue eyes. You can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. So yeah, this thing is okay as a one of, but however, I personally would never play more than one in certain builds. Then we got Majesty's Pegasus. Oh boy. The field spell. All Magispector monsters on field gain 300 attack and defense. You can tribute one wind monster. Special summon one level 4 or lower Magispector Pendulum monster from your deck. You can only use this effect of Pegasus once per turn. Okay, so funnily enough, Konami just loved to make it so that every single field spell back in the day did not have the name of its archetype in the deck, like in the name. So this card is not searchable by anything. Okay, that is annoying. You gotta play Terraforming or Metaverse to get to this card. This card is a decent 2 of in a pure Magispector deck, maybe even a 3 of, mainly for that attack boost and being able to swap out Magispectors for another one so you can get more searching, so you can get more building up in your extra deck and stuff. The downside is, of course, it's a hard once per turn, doesn't really do much else, and the attack boost is kind of minimal, but it does help out actually surprisingly a lot for Magispectors. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but if you're playing a mixed build, you don't really need this card. Then we got the traps. Magispector Gust. Target one Magispector card in your Pendulum Zone, special summon it. Okay. It's not good. Don't need it. Don't play it, please. Then we got their best one, Magispector Tornado. Tribute one wind monster. Well, wind spellcaster monster. Then target one monster your opponent controls. Banish it. Literally, just we got best raccoon on there and got best trap. So this card right here is just flat out stupid. Play 3 in the pure. You can get away with 2 in mixed builds, but I would still advise playing 3 for the most part. This card is really, really good. Again, you're still technically losing card economy, but you're banishing something, which is really, really good and better than destroying or even shuffling it. Then we got their good old, what was it called again? Oh yes, Infernity Barrier. Continuous Counter trap card, Majespector Tempest. When a monster would be special summon or a monster effect is activated, tribute 1 when spellcaster type monster, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. It just dawned on me Tempest has the art of the dude who can't search it, while the quick play spell card has the art of the card that can't search it. That's kind of funny that they switched it, but I don't know. Anyway, so this card is pretty darn good. Play 3 in the pure builds, because it's like your best trap alongside Tornado, and then play 2 to 3 in your mixed builds, depending on what's going on. And the fact that this can negate a summon or a monster effect is just really, really good. I know I compared it to Infernity Barrier a second ago, but it's really more of a solemn. This thing is stupid. Play 3 in the main build. Then we got Magispector Supercell. Now, this card is a card that people are kind of mixed on, and I can see why. It's a continuous trap card. While you have a Magispector card in your Pendulum Zone, the activation and effects of other Magispector cards activated on your side of the field cannot be negated. Once per turn, you can target 5 Magispector cards in your graveyard, shuffle all 5 in the deck, and then draw 1 card. As I said, this deck tends to kind of burn through its resources pretty quick, especially since you're kind of using your spells and traps in tandem with your monsters, and ideally you're going to be searching and tributing and searching and tributing and searching and tributing and disrupting and being a general all nuisance to your opponent. And this card is supposed to make it even better, because now your opponent can't negate your stuff, and on top of that, it's a pot of avarice for any Magispector cards. Monster, spell, or trap, doesn't matter what. This thing is really, really helpful for the grind game, and if you're playing the pure build, I highly, highly recommend playing 2. If you're playing mixed builds, 1 is enough just to get by. Even if you only get to do it 1 time to reset your deck, kind of, this thing is really, really handy. I really wish it was draw 2, but I get why they put it as draw 1. So, yeah. Moving on. Last card that I really want to talk about, and I should have talked about the other Draco Slayer and the other deck, whatever, but oh well. Majespector Paladin, the Ascending Draco Slayer. Rank 4 Xyz monster, Dragon Xyz effect, 1850 attack, 2k defense, 2 level 4 Pendulum monsters. When this card is Xyz summoned, you can add 1 Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand during the end phase of this turn. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card. Special summon 1 face-up Draco Slayer Pendulum monster from your action deck, but it cannot be used as Xyz material for an Xyz summon. This thing is pretty good if you're playing the Draco Slayer engines in this deck. The Draco Slayers, most notably Luster Pendulum, are actually pretty good in Magispectors, because he's actually got good synergy, having a good scale range for them, so therefore you're actually able to Pendulum summon most of the time with him and everything, and of course being able to get out Magister Paladin and the other good old extra deck Draco Slayers, like for instance Ignister and Dino Nister. I don't remember what the water one was named, darn it, but oh well, whatever. Ignister and Magister, both of them are really good in just being able to combo and everything. Again, though, this card does kind of get screwed over by the same way as Necomata, where, oh, hey, you get a search for any Pendulum monster, but it's at the end phase. And you're probably going to be dead by then, or this is going to get negated, or yada, yada, yada. Now, however, just like Necomata, you can use this thing's effect and fuse it off or something right away, and you'll still get the search, so it's not like the worst thing in the world, or if it leaves the field for whatever reason, you'll still get it. Pretty good card all around, but however, definitely has not aged well compared to so many other cards out there. Moving on, this is one of my 2 builds. This is a mixed build that I was trying to get to work. I have been having very mixed results with it. Trying to get it to work with like some sort of mixed build with pendulums and all that other stuff, and it's worked okay sometimes, but it hasn't really been all that great. Personally, though, I mainly really do love the pure build. Okay, the pure build, I love it. It's so much fun just being a troll and getting to do stuff. I've been tinkering around with Pendulum Area, which is a really interesting trap card, which states that if all monsters you control are Pendulum monsters, and you got Pendulum Scales set up, destroy your Pendulum Scales. Neither player can spell summon except for Pendulum Summon until the end of the next turn. It's mean, really good card all around. It's searchable too, and this deck is super highly consistent. It has a hard time winning though, because you can't push out that damage, but it is a really fun one, and it just dawned on me, I said not to play this card, but I was testing it out. Oh god, me being a hypocrite. Again, I was testing it out, and I'm not liking it one bit. Once I get around to doing the updated deck profile of it, I do hope you guys will look forward to that, which will be hopefully coming out later this week or next week. I just got to get around to getting some duels in that are actually updated, because I had duels, but they are all the replays broke because it was back in November, and yeah. So I hope you guys look forward to that and seeing the updated deck list. And yeah, this is just kind of a taste of what my general thought process on testing is. Finally, what is my overall general thoughts on this deck? The deck is stupid consistent. Every single main deck monster, with the exception of Kieran, is a searcher. But however, while the deck has consistency, it lacks oomph. It has no way of really getting in that damage to go for game, and it doesn't do the grind game very well. You burn through your resources so quick, it just kind of sucks. The deck has no link monster, and therefore, since Electromite is still banned, you're not getting any resources off of the other links, and it's just not particularly great. The deck really needs more monsters, and it really does need more ways of just special summoning outside of Pendulum Summoning. I would appreciate to see more spells and traps, but I don't honestly know what they could do, other than maybe giving them a searcher and spells or something. I don't know. But it's just something that I generally... This deck is very mixed in all situations. It's got a lot of backing to it, but it doesn't have a lot of pushing forward momentum ability. And that's what's holding it back, at least in my opinion. The Dracoslayers help kind of alleviate that a bit because they are more aggro, but these guys are just so defensive, they can't do much. But I digress. What do you guys think about Magispectors? I hope you are looking forward to the deck profile and duel replays coming either later this week or next week. It will all just depend on how much time I get to play and all that. So we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. Rate, comment, and subscribe, please. And see you all later. Peace out. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider rating, commenting, and subscribing. Sharing the video helps as well. If you especially really like it, please do consider being a channel member. Every little bit helps out. And hey, also why not check me out on my other social media pages. Thank you, and have a great day.